Log entry 001.
Clears throat. We are 12,000 feet down, and the station that was declared a graveyard just asks us for cream. I'm still tasting metal from the recycled air when the ping slices through our comm deck like a rusted scalpel. The speakers crackle, then a voice, no, a memory of a voice, slithers out. Cream, 2 sugars. I'm not joking. 30 years ago, Acheron Ridge 9 imploded under 8 tons of pressure and volcanic glass. Everyone aboard was legally, medically, thermodynamically dead. Yet here I am, coffee still trembling in my hand, listening to a ghost place its order. My first instinct? Hallucination. Lack of sleep? Nitrogen narcosis. Take your pick. But the waveform on the scope is as sharp as a shark's tooth, and the coordinates it carries are surgical, down to the last meter of trench. I lean closer, heart drumming louder than the hull. The timestamp says the signal originated 14 minutes ago. 14 minutes ago, from a place that hasn't existed since I was in grade school. I thumb the intercom. Bridge, this is Voss. We just got a call from the dead. Static answers first, then Captain Reyes, voice dry as chalk. Repeat that, Doctor? I do, and the line goes so quiet I can hear the ocean squeezing our hull. Finally, Reyes says, play it again, full volume. I cue the recording. The same 3 words seep out, stretched and warped, as if spoken through a throat full of silt. Cream, 2 sugars. The bridge erupts. Navigator Patel swears it's a prank. Comms Tech Lin thinks the array's picking up old emergency loops bouncing off thermal layers. Only Dr. Wilmo
Sato, our exobiologist, stays silent, eyes reflecting the red alarm lights like twin drops of blood. Race orders a triangulation sweep. The computer chews on the data for 3 agonizing seconds, then spits out a vector that spears straight into the Acheron Trench. Not near the trench, inside it, at a depth that would pancake any hull ever built. I feel the deck tilt, though we haven't moved. Memory does that, I guess. I was 8 when Ridge 9 vanished. I watched the news feeds loop the same footage. Rescue subs circling debris fields, mothers weeping on docks. And now that station, or whatever's wearing its name, wants cream. 2 sugars. The absurdity tastes sour on my tongue. I run diagnostics on every filter, every relay. Clean, no signal bleed, no spoof. The ping is real, or reality is broken. Same difference at these depths. Patel argues we should surface and flag Fleet Command. Sato whispers we should answer. What if they're still down there? Her voice quivers like a tuning fork. I glance at the depth gauge, 12,400 and rising. Every meter we climb buys us time, but also guilt. We are the only ship within 800 nautical miles. If someone, something, is calling, we are the only ones who can hear. Reyes calls a vote. Hands go up, trembling. 4 for investigate, 3 for retreat. Democracy at the edge of sanity. Course is set. Engines growl like caged animals. I retreat to the comm station, headphones clamped tight, waiting for another syllable. Minutes stretch into taffy. My pulse syncs with the sonar pings. Then it comes again. Not cream, 2 sugars this time. Just 1 word, drawn out until it snaps. Mara. My name. Spoken in my own voice. The waveform matches my vocal print at 99.7%. I rip off the headset so fast the cord whips my cheek. It's impossible. I've never been to Ridge 9. I was a child when it died. Yet something down there knows me, mimics me, invites me. The deck shudders. We're descending. Reyes's voice crackles over the intercom, steady as a surgeon's hand. Depth 13,000. ETA to Ridge 9 coordinates, 30 minutes. I stare at the darkness beyond the glass. Somewhere beneath us, metal that should be pulp is speaking my name. Cream. 2 sugars. Mara. The coffee has gone cold. My hands haven't. I reach for the transmit key, hesitate, then press it. This is Okeanos. Identify yourself. Silence answers.
thick enough to chew. Just when I think the abyss has swallowed my words, the reply comes.
Not through speakers, through the hull itself.
A metallic tapping, slow, deliberate. ... Morse for H. Then E. Then L. My blood turns to antifreeze. The entire station is knocking. Not a signal, an occupant. I back away, but the tapping follows, syncopated with my heartbeat. The lights flicker. Somewhere, a bulkhead groans like an old man rising from bed. I fumble for the intercom, but before I can speak, a final knock rattles my teeth. Then a whisper. Not through comms, not through metal, inside my skull. Come closer, Mara. Cream's getting cold. And that's when the engines stop. Not a gradual wind down, an absolute surgical silence. The kind that makes your ears ring louder than any siren. We hang in the water, 12,800 feet of blackness above, 13,000 and climbing below. No propulsion, no power. Just the knocking. I realize, with the clarity of a scalpel, that we didn't choose to investigate. We were invited, and the host is almost at the door. The brass nameplate still burns behind my eyes when Captain Holt's voice cuts through the static. Caladan, to Bay 3. Prep for immediate launch. His words taste like iron in my mouth. I'm already moving, boots pounding metal grates, heart trying to punch through my ribs. Somewhere behind me, the knocking from the Ridge 9 keeps time with my pulse. I reach the docking cradle, and Juno Reyes is already there, her flight suit half-zipped, dark hair twisted into a knot that defies gravity and sense. She tosses me a helmet without looking. Heard you like haunted shipwrecks, Mara. The joke lands like a lead weight. Anders Klein lumbers up behind us, rifle slung across his chest, chewing gum like it owes him money. Volunteers only, Holt says, though we all know that's theater. Nobody else was dumb enough to step forward. We seal the hatch, and the world narrows to the size of a coffin. Juno runs her pre-dive checklist like a prayer, fingers dancing over switches. I click record on my personal log, voice steadier than I feel. Entry 1, depth 0. Objective, locate the Ridge 9, confirm wreckage, and explain the knocking. I almost add, or die trying, but Anders is listening, and bravado feels cheap. The magnetic clamps disengage with a sound like breaking teeth. We drift free, and the abyss rushes in. Juno kills the floods, because down here, light is a confession. We fall. The viewport fills with black so complete it has texture, like velvet soaked in ink. Somewhere beneath us, the impossible ping pulses again, slow and patient, the heartbeat of something that never learned to hurry. I count the meters on the depth gauge like counting rosary beads. 1,000, 2, 3. Each 100 is a decade older. The hull groans, steel remembering it was never meant to bend this way. Anders keeps one hand on his rifle, the other on the bulkhead, as if either could stop whatever's waiting. You hear that? He mutters. I do. A rhythm, faint but steady, like knuckles on metal. 4,000. The temperature drops fast enough to fog my breath. Juno's knuckles are white on the yoke. Mara, she says, voice thin. Scope shows something below us. Massive. No transponder. I want to tell her transponders are for ships that want to be found, but the words stick. The knocking grows louder, closer, as if the Ridge 9 is climbing up to meet us. 6,000. The Caladan shudders. Not from pressure. Something else. A current that shouldn't exist this deep, tugging us sideways like a hand curling around a finger. I grip the edge of my seat until metal bites skin. Anders curses under his breath, switches the rifle's safety off. Safety is a joke down here. The green dot in the viewport is wider now, less a light and more a wound. 8,000. We pass the first piece of the Ridge 9, a chunk of hull, edges torn like paper, algae already claiming it. No bodies, not yet. The knocking stops. The silence is worse, a vacuum that sucks the courage from my lungs. Juno whispers a course correction, but her voice cracks. The green light below flares, once, twice, then holds steady. 9,000. We're close enough to see the outline, a hull, intact, impossibly upright on a shelf of rock. Ridge 9. No breach, no collapse, just sitting there like it parked itself. My log feels pointless now. Depth 9,400, I say, throat dry. Visual confirmation. Vessel appears undamaged. Anders leans forward, rifle forgotten. That's impossible, he breathes. We watched it sink. 10,000. Juno brings us alongside, thrusters whispering. The knocking starts again, louder now, coming from inside the Caladan. No, from inside the Ridge 9, synchronized. 2 heartbeats finding the same rhythm. I reach for the external mic, fingers shaking. The sound resolves into a pattern. 3 knocks, pause. 2 knocks, pause. Then a voice, faint, childlike, singing through the hall. Come in, the water's fine. Anders raises his rifle, but Juno's already reaching for the docking clamp. Her eyes meet mine, and I see my own terror reflected there. We go in, she says, voice flat. We have to know. The green light spreads, bleeding through the viewport, washing our faces in corpse color. Somewhere inside the Ridge 9, metal scrapes against metal, slow and deliberate, like something unlocking. I start to speak, to argue, to beg, but the words die as the docking ring seals with a hiss that sounds like a sigh of relief. The knocking stops. Silence again, thick and waiting. Then, from the airlock speaker, a single word, distorted but unmistakable. Welcome. The inner hatch begins to cycle open, and I realize we never had a choice. The host has opened the door. The seal locks home with a wet click, and for one heartbeat, the Caladan's hull seems to breathe against Ridge 9, like 2 lungs sharing the same diseased air. Then the pressure equalizes. The green emergency lights flicker out, and I am staring through the porthole into a corridor that should be vacuum, but somehow is not. My own pulse hammers so loud, I swear the metal can hear it. The outer hatch cycles open without resistance. No groan of aged seals, no burst of frozen atmosphere. Just a gentle sigh that raises the hair on my neck. Someone left the door unlocked for us. I step through first, boots clanking too loud on grated decking that has not felt weight in years. Behind me, Jax and Dr. Maury hover at the threshold, like kids afraid to touch a cursed toy. I taste iron on my tongue. The air is thick, humid, wrong. Fluorescent tubes hum above us, flickering between life and a death they refuse to accept. Each stutter paints the walls in freeze-frame moments, a control panel still blinking standby, a clipboard dangling from a hook, and a ceramic mug releasing curls of steam as though poured seconds ago. The coffee inside as black as crude oil and just as still. I reach out, fingers trembling, but the heat bites me like a warning. Fresh. Impossible, but fresh. Then I see them. Footprints. Bare, child-sized, starting in the exact center of the corridor, as if someone materialized from thin air. The soles are damp, leaving glistening half-moons that point deeper into Ridge 9. They smell faintly of salt and ozone, the way the ocean smells right before lightning strikes. Jax swears under his breath. Maury just stares, mouth working around words that refuse to come. I count. 1, 2, 7 prints before the flicker swallows the rest. My throat tastes like rust. We follow because not following feels worse. Each step makes the station creak, a long exhalation of metal fatigue. The humidity climbs, fogging my visor until I crack the seal and breathe the air raw. It tastes like someone else's nightmare. The corridor narrows, pipes sweating overhead, dripping onto our helmets with soft taps that sync up with my heartbeat. I keep expecting the prints to fade, but they stay wet, fresh, leading us on. Halfway down, the lights change. Fluorescent gives way to something older, filament bulbs glowing a weak amber that turns our suits the color of dried blood. The footprints veer left through an open hatch I do not remember from the schematics. Above it, stenciled letters have been clawed away, leaving only scars. Something did not want that name spoken. I duck through, Maury close enough to feel her breath on my neck. Jax bringing up the rear with his plasma cutter raised like a crucifix. The bay beyond is a graveyard of supply crates, all labeled for a resupply that never arrived. One crate sits open, Packing straw strewn like guts. Inside, nothing but a child's shoe. Left, small, still damp. The footprint ends right in front of it, toes pointed at the bulkhead as though the owner walked straight through solid steel. My skin prickles. The air here is colder, tasting of pennies and spoiled milk. Jax reaches for the shoe, but Maury grabs his wrist. "Don't," she whispers, voice cracking like thin ice. "It's still warm." She's right. Vapor rises from the leather, curling into shapes that look almost like fingers. I swear one brushes my cheek, soft as regret. The bulkhead beyond is sealed. No wheel, no panel, just rivets and silence. Yet the footprints stop here, toes kissing metal. We stand frozen, listening. Somewhere beyond that wall, water drips in a rhythm too steady to be random. I press my helmet to the steel and hear something else. Breathing, light and quick, the way a child sounds when hiding. My blood turns to slush. Jax mouths the word vacuum and points at the gauge on his wrist. 0 pressure on the other side. Impossible, but the needle does not lie. Then the dripping stops. In its place, a single knock, soft, deliberate, answered by another knock from the corridor we just left. We spin, light slicing shadows that scatter like roaches. More knocks echo, multiplying, until the entire station sounds like a drum played by dead hands. The shoe rocks in its crate, water sloshing over the edge. Something is walking back the way we came, barefoot and impatient. I grab the shoe without thinking. Cold burns my fingers and shove it into my suit pocket. Maury's eyes widen, but she says nothing. We retreat, boots squelching through puddles that were not there moments ago. The footprints are retreating too, drying as they go, vanishing step by step until only the memory of them remains. The lights brighten, as though the station exhales in relief. We reach the junction and freeze. The mug is still there, still hot, but now a second trail of prints overlays the child's, adult-sized, booted, heading deeper into Ridge 9. Our prints, yet none of us have stepped that way. The station has been walking with us all along. The airlock behind us begins to cycle again, a slow, welcoming sigh. I realize we never left the threshold. We only thought we did. And whatever opened the door is now between us and the Caladan, footsteps steady, coming closer, wearing our boots better than we ever did. I can't move. Not really. Not when the airlock behind us keeps breathing like it wants to swallow our names. Anders shoves past me, gloved hands shaking so hard the suit fabric crackles. "Evidence," he mutters. We bag the impossible and maybe it stops being impossible. He pulls a clear pouch from his kit, the kind rated for vacuum, and reaches for the mug still steaming on the floor. The coffee inside is fresh, dark, swirling like liquid night. I smell it. Bitter, bright, impossible. No human has brewed anything on Ridge 9 for 6 years. Anders seals the pouch and the vapor fogs the plastic, blurring the evidence into something that looks like a trapped ghost. A ghost of breakfast, imagine that. Juno's already at the nearest console, fingers dancing over keys that haven't been touched since the collapse. She's humming under her breath, a tune I don't recognize, until I realize it's the old lullaby the commander used to whistle while he plotted orbits. "I'm in," she whispers, and the screen flickers to life with the station log. The last entry is time-stamped 5 minutes before we docked. 5 minutes. We were still burning Delta V like fools, thinking we were first. The voice that speaks is calm, measured, unmistakable. Docking protocol initiated. Welcome home. Dr. Lyle Vance, the man who died when the hull split and the sky poured in. I heard the recordings. They played them at the inquiry, all screams and metal tearing. This voice is serene, almost amused, like he's greeting guests at a dinner party. Static rips across the overhead PA, a dry, hungry sound. Then, clearer than any echo has the right to be, "You forgot the cream." The words are warm, intimate, as if spoken an inch from my ear. Anders drops the pouch and the mug rolls, sloshing dark liquid that somehow doesn't spill. I spin, weapon raised, but there's only corridor, only the prints we haven't made yet, stretching into black. Juno's screen glitches, letters rearranging themselves into a smile made of pixels. He's rewriting the log in real time, she says, voice thin. Every keystroke I make, he undoes. The lights dim to a bruised violet. Somewhere deeper, metal groans the way a throat does before it screams. Whisper, I swear the deck tilts, just a degree, like the whole station is leaning in to listen. Anders grabs the pouch again, cradling it like it's radioactive. We take it back to the ship, he insists. Let the lab tell us this coffee was roasted last week. But the airlock behind us exhales a third time, and this time the cycle completes. Footsteps echo, 2 sets, maybe 3, perfectly in sync, perfectly ours. Juno's fingers freeze above the keyboard. He logged us as crew, she breathes. All 3 of us. Arrival time 6 years ago. My suit chills around me, the heating elements fighting a losing battle. I taste copper where I've bitten my tongue. Anders shoulders past me toward the exit, but the corridor flexes like a rib cage. The mug in its pouch steams harder, as if insulted by the cold. I swear the plastic fogs into the shape of a smile. We should go, I say, though my legs refuse. The PA crackles again, softer, almost fond. Kitchen's open. The words slither down the metal, wrapping around my spine. Juno slams the console, but the screen only shows a single line. Crew manifest complete, all hands present. I glance at my wrist pad. Our outbound telemetry is gone, overwritten by the same calm voice. Anders backs away from the airlock, eyes wide. The inner hatch just sealed, he says, voice cracking. Outer's cycling. We're being invited deeper, politely, inexorably. Juno lifts the pouch, holds it to her visor. Inside, the coffee swirls into a spiral, a miniature galaxy of bitter black. It's still hot, she murmurs, wonder and terror braided tight. Who drinks coffee in a grave? The footsteps stop right outside the junction, just beyond the reach of our lights. I hear the soft scuff of boots that fit us too well. One step closer, and they'll be wearing our shadows. I raise my weapon again, but the barrel trembles. The PA sighs, a lover's exhale. Table's set. The deck vibrates with the rhythm of a heart that might be mine, or might belong to the station. Anders looks at me, at Juno, at the pouch steaming in her hands. We can't leave, he says, not a question. The inner hatch behind us locks with a gentle, final click. Somewhere ahead, the corridor bends, inviting. The coffee smell grows stronger, warmer, like a promise. I taste cream I never poured. The station is ready to serve, and we are, apparently, already seated. The corridor beyond the galley stretches longer than the blueprint promised. I tap my wrist pad and call up the echo map, Mara's gift from the console, an overlay of the whole station ghosting across my vision in transparent blue. Every corridor, every vent, every supposedly sealed bulkhead lights up like veins under skin. The footprints we've been following, those perfect, child-sized prints, pulse brighter now, a trail of soft red dots leading away from me and toward the drowned Hydrolab 3. They curve left, then down, then vanish into a section labeled Flooded, Biohazard. I smell copper pennies and coffee in the same breath. Juno's voice crackles in my ear, low and shaky. Temperature spike at your 9 o'clock. Point source, 2 seconds ago. 2 seconds. Whatever made that print is still close enough to breathe on the back of my neck. I swing the beam of my headlamp and catch the first sealed door. The word, secure, has been scratched out, replaced by a dent shaped exactly like a set of small knuckles, 4 round impressions and a thumb. The metal is still warm. I press the flat of my palm against the warmth and feel it throb, like a heartbeat trapped in steel. The station's alive, I whisper, not meaning to. And it's walking. The laugh crawls out of me, thin and bitter, because what else can you do when the architecture starts having opinions? The echo map updates. The red dots move again, deeper. I follow, boots splashing through shallow puddles that shouldn't exist. Life support reclaimed this deck months ago. Each splash echoes back a half-second late, like the corridor is arguing with itself. Second door. Same dents, same warmth, but now the knuckles have dragged downward, carving shallow grooves that look like tears in the metal. Juno's wrist pad chirps. Thermal bloom. 2 meters ahead, then gone. Whatever it is, it's sprinting in the dark. I think about turning back. I really do. But the footprints are the only story I have left, and stories are gravity. I shoulder through the second door, and the air changes. Warmer, wetter. The smell of coffee thickens until I can taste the roast on the back of my tongue. Third door. This one isn't dented, it's peeled. The metal curls outward like flower petals, edges blackened as if heat bent them backwards. I reach out, and the curled lip is still too hot to touch. Something just tore its way out, seconds ago, and the metal hasn't finished screaming. The echo map flickers. For a heartbeat, the overlay shows the station as it used to be. White walls, bright lights, crew moving like normal shadows. Then the vision snaps back to present decay, and I realize the footprints aren't red anymore. They're white, bone white, the color of old scars. Juno's breathing hitches. The temp spike is behind you now. I spin, beam slicing through empty corridor. Nothing, but the warmth on my back tells a different story. Something passed me in the fog, and I never felt the wind of its going. I check the map again. Hydrolab 3 is 1 deck down, straight through the next bulkhead. The label flashes between flooded and occupied, like it can't make up its mind. I push the door. It moves with a soft sucking sound, water lapping at my thighs. The smell of coffee is overwhelming now, rich and dark and wrong. I taste cream again, but this time it's sour, curdled. The footprints stop at the water's edge and simply wait. I shine the light across the lab. Gurneys float like driftwood. Broken tanks breathe slow streams of bubbles. And at the far end, half submerged, is the coffee dispenser we left behind in the galley, still dripping a steady stream into an overflowing mug. The mug steams. Fresh, hot, impossible. Juno whispers, "Thermal bloom," inside the mug. And that's when the footprints start again, on the surface of the water. They're coming back. I step through the hatch, and the footprints vanish into the drowned corridor ahead. The air tastes of rust and wet copper, and every breath feels like swallowing someone else's nightmare. The coffee machine's still running somewhere above me. How is it still running? The steady drip echoing like a metronome for the damned. The lights overhead strobe in dying Morse, spelling nothing I can read. I tell myself it's just the flood, just the pressure, just my imagination. But my voice shakes like the hand that last held that impossible mug. I push forward, boots sloshing, until the corridor opens into what used to be Hydro Lab 3. The algae pulse, bright then dim, as if breathing. They swirl around the drowned benches, around the microscopes that now stare eyeless into the dark. I reach out, and the light clings to my glove like frost that never learned how to be cold. It's beautiful, right up until I remember beauty is the first thing the abyss uses as bait. Something bumps my thigh, soft, papery. I fumble it up. It's a child's drawing, the wax colors already bleeding into the water. Stick figure, crayon sun, blocky house, and across the bottom, in purple crayon, today's date. Not yesterday, not last week. Today. The paper is warm, like it was pulled straight from a fridge magnet 5 minutes ago. The footprints start again here, right at the water's edge, perfect circles of clarity that step from nowhere onto the surface and simply keep going. No ripple, no splash, just 5 small prints, the size of a kid's sneakers. I can't not follow them. My legs move before my brain catches up, and I wade deeper. The water is warmer than it should be, almost body temperature, like the lab has become a womb. The algae part around me, revealing a clear corridor of darkness straight down the middle. My boots leave proper turbulence. The footprints leave none. Gooseflesh climbs my arms, and not from cold. Something is watching me from inside the light. A giggle slices the silence, high-pitched, metallic, like a music box missing most of its teeth. It bounces off the submerged walls, off the glass shards, off my teeth. I laugh, because if I don't, I'll scream, and screaming feels like an invitation. The giggle answers, delighted, closer. I stop. The water barely moves now, thick as syrup. Warmth brushes my ankle, soft as fingertips, then gone. I jerk my foot back. Splash! But there's nothing to see. Just the algae swirling faster, tighter, forming a spiral that points straight down. I feel the tug, gentle, polite, irresistible. I should turn back. Every neuron screams retreat. Yet I lean forward, drawn like iron to a magnet, and the warmth wraps my calf, slides up behind my knee. It feels like skin, damp, pliant, but too smooth, too seamless. I whisper, "Who are you?" And the giggle answers from inside my own throat, echoing before I finish the question. The footprints ahead stop at the center of the spiral. One final print, smaller than the rest, as if the child rose onto tiptoe. Then, nothing, just the water waiting, patient as a held breath. I take one more step, and the floor drops away. No warning, no ledge, just sudden, weightless fall. I plunge, slow motion through liquid starlight. The warmth cradles me, turns me, guides me face up so I can watch the lab ceiling recede into a shrinking coin of teal. The giggle is everywhere now, vibrating in my ribs, in my pulse, in the marrow. Something rises to meet me, pale, long-limbed, featureless as a doll left in the bath too long. Its hand reaches up, fingers splayed, and matches the size of the last footprint exactly. It waves hello. I try to kick away, but the water thickens, hugs me closer. The warmth in my ankle becomes a grip, gentle yet unbreakable, pulling me down faster. The giggle modulates into a lullaby I almost remember from before I had words. The last thing I see is the crayon drawing, drifting past again, face up, colors already gone. The purple date blurs, rewrites itself to tomorrow. The warmth closes over my face like a second skin, and the metallic giggle whispers, "Playtime isn't over yet." I wake to the hiss of circuits reigniting, the taste of salt still thick on my tongue like a promise I never agreed to. For a heartbeat, I think the abyss spat me back out. Then every monitor on the station blinks awake at once, a choir of cold blue eyes. My skin is dry, as if the flood that dragged me down was only a dream, yet the bruises around my ankle say otherwise. I sit up in Hydrolab 3, alone, surrounded by glass tanks that should be empty but now sway with water that was not there a moment ago. "Welcome back, specialist," the console chirps in the same cheerful register it used the day we launched. The joke lands flat because the internal pressure gauge is already spinning backward, the needle sliding toward red like a tongue retreating into a mouth. Someone opened the lower floodgates. Someone, or something, that learned how to use handles. I feel the air thin. My ears pop. And for the first time since I arrived, I hear the station itself moan in a voice almost human. I run. Boots slap metal, each footfall lighter as the atmosphere thins. The corridor ahead warps, perspective stretching like taffy under a heat lamp. Lights stutter from sterile white to emergency crimson, painting everything the color of old meat. Overhead, the PA crackles, clears, and Dr. Vance's calm voice, "God, I thought he was dead," begins to count. 10. The number hangs, patient and inevitable. I taste copper. 9. My pulse answers like a child knocking to be let in. 8. I reach the central ladder shaft, should be climbing toward command, but the rungs are wet, and the water is rising from below, step by step like an escalator in reverse. 7. I hesitate, up or down, safety or the source. The metal under my palms trembles, as if something enormous is climbing the inside of the hull, testing each weld with patient teeth. 6. I choose down, because curiosity is a stronger drug than oxygen. The water meets me halfway, lukewarm, smelling of rust and forgotten birthdays. I plunge through it, eyes open, and the red light turns murky rose, then bruised purple, then nothing. My ears roar. 5. Dr. Vance sounds closer now, like he's speaking from inside my skull. I can almost feel his breath on the back of my neck. The pressure drops another notch, and the water around me fizzes, bubbles racing upward as if fleeing a mouth opening beneath them. 4. My foot finds deck plating instead of another rung. I break surface inside the lower cargo bay, a cavernous space that should be sealed, dry. packed with crates. Instead, it yawns open to the ocean through the floodgates, gates that stand wide like arms welcoming a long-lost child. The moon. No, the searchlights from the abyss shine through the breach, silver and cold. 3. I see shapes moving out there, graceful, too large to be human, circling. 2. The deck plates beneath my boots buckle upward with a drawn-out metallic groan, as if the entire station inhales. Water sloshes away from the center, revealing the crayon drawing plastered flat to the steel. Colors bled to gray, but the purple date fresh, wet, changed to today. I drop to my knees. The paper is warm. 1. Silence. Then 0. The station exhales. The plates snap back down, but something rises with them. An outline, tall, jointed wrong, pushing through the metal like it's membrane rather than alloy. Water cascades off its shoulders, revealing skin, if that's what it is, translucent and veined with slow pulses of bioluminescent blue. It tilts what might be a head toward me. The lullaby from the abyss returns, hummed through a throat that was never meant for music. I back away, but the floodgates slam shut with a sound like teeth closing. The bay drains in seconds, water sucked back out through vents that should not exist, leaving me alone with the figure and the growing chill of vacuum. The pressure gauge on my wrist spins into the black, past 0, into negative numbers. My lungs protest. The thing lifts a hand, 4 fingers, too many joints, and points at the crayon drawing. The purple date blinks, rewriting itself again, this time to 1 minute from now. Playtime, Dr. Sill. Vance says, no longer through the PCA, but from everywhere at once, is just beginning. The figure steps forward, and with each footfall, the metal sings, a tuning fork struck by the abyss itself. The sound is almost joyful. My vision tunnels, stars blooming at the edges like phosphor flowers. The last thing I feel is the drawing lifting from the deck, paper dry now, fluttering against my cheek like a mother's goodbye kiss. Then the lights die. Not a flicker, but a deliberate exhalation, and in the dark I hear the floodgates open again, this time from above. Water begins to fall like rain inside the station, cold, tasting of depths no map has ever recorded. Somewhere, a child giggles. I reach out, fingers brushing the edge of the crayon paper as it flutters upward, carried by the rising flood. On it, the purple date has vanished, replaced by a single word written in my own handwriting, though I swear I never wrote it. Surface. The water reaches my knees, then my waist, then my chest, and I realize the station is not flooding. It's ascending. And we are not alone in the elevator. The elevator lurches again, and I feel the floor beneath me tilt like a seesaw caught between 2 storms. The water is no longer rising. It's holding steady at my chest, as though the station itself is waiting for something. I clutch the soggy crayon paper in my fist, the word surface bleeding purple into my palm like bruised fruit. My flashlight flickers, then dies, and the darkness swallows everything except the sound of my own breath, ragged and too loud. I slap the flashlight against my thigh, once, twice, and it coughs back to life just long enough to reveal the black box wedged between 2 panels above my head. Clears throat. The same box Juno swore she couldn't pry open with a crowbar and a prayer, yet here it is, dangling like a gift from the abyss, its metal skin split along the seam as if something inside pushed its way out. My fingers find the latch, cold and slick, and I pry it open with a sound like teeth grinding. The recorder inside is still warm. I press play, and Vance's voice spills out, thin and shaking, looping over itself like a broken lullaby. Stay inside the lines, sweetheart. Just stay inside the lines. He's pleading, each repetition more desperate than the last, as if the words themselves can build walls around whatever child he's talking to. I hear paper tearing, crayons snapping, and then a gurgling scream cuts through the loop, wet and final, the kind of sound that turns your stomach inside out. But it's not Vance screaming. It's something deeper, something that uses his throat like a puppet. The recorder clicks, rewinds, plays again. Same plea, same tearing paper, same gurgle, over and over, until I lose count, and my own heartbeat starts syncing with the rhythm. I fast forward on instinct, thumb trembling, and the voices warp into a single stretched moan. When I hit stop, the final loop begins. Vance is quieter now, almost whispering, "Stay inside the lines, sweetheart. Stay." The scream comes again, but this time it's followed by a voice I know better than my own. My voice, Mara's voice, clear and calm, as if I'm standing right behind myself. We're on our way. The timestamp on the recorder flashes. Tomorrow. I drop the recorder like it bit me. The water around my legs ripples outward in perfect circles, as though something just slipped beneath the surface. I back against the elevator wall, flashlight beam jittering across the metal, and that's when I hear the giggling again. Not the child from before. This one is closer, right outside the elevator door, tapping metal like fingernails on a tin can. The black box sparks once, then begins to play on its own, no buttons pressed. Vance's loop again, but slower, stretched until each word sounds like a drowning breath. Stay inside. The scream never arrives. Instead, the tape keeps stretching until the only sound left is my own recorded voice repeating, "We're on our way," over and over, faster and faster, until it sounds like wings beating against the inside of my skull. I slam the recorder shut, but the voice keeps leaking through the cracks. "We're on our way." I clamp my hands over my ears, but the sound is inside now, threading through my thoughts like cold wire. The elevator shudders, begins to rise again, and I realize the water is draining. No, being pulled down through the floor grates, as if the station itself is sucking it back into whatever lungs it hides. The giggling stops. In its place, a single crayon rolls across the elevator floor, leaving a bright red line behind it. The line curves, loops, crosses itself, until it forms a perfect circle around me. Stay inside the lines. The recorder clicks one last time. Silence. The elevator doors slide open onto a corridor I've never seen, lit by a sickly yellow glow that tastes like old pennies. I step out, boots squelching, and the doors seal behind me with a sound like a throat closing. Somewhere ahead, a child's voice whispers my name, not through speakers, but through the metal itself, vibrating up through my bones. I look down. The red crayon line has followed me, unbroken, pulsing faintly as if it has a pulse of its own. I take one step forward, and the line tightens around my ankles like a leash. The corridor ends at a door marked with a single purple date, tomorrow. The knob is warm, as if someone just let go. I reach for it, and the crayon line snaps taut, pulling me closer, closer, until my forehead presses against the cool metal, and I hear the child giggle again, right on the other side. The recorder clicks in my pocket, though I never put it back. A new voice whispers through the speaker, tiny and afraid. "She's almost here." My hand freezes on the warm knob. The giggle comes again, wet and echoing, like someone blowing bubbles in a flooded throat. I pull the crayon line taut between my fingers and it vibrates, a living violin string humming with the child's breath. Behind me, Anders whispers a prayer that sounds more like a curse, and Mara's flashlight clicks off, plunging us into velvet black. I push. The door swings inward without a sound, though I swear the hinges scream inside my skull. A junction waits beyond, 4 identical corridors branching away, each tiled in the same hospital green that went out of fashion before we were born. The air smells of pennies and salt. Footprints glow on the floor, small bare feet outlined in phosphorescent blue, leading straight toward us. Mara steps forward first, because of course she does, and the footprints brighten as if they recognize her. I want to call her back, but my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth like old peanut butter. The recorder in my pocket crackles, then a tiny voice whimpers, "Don't let her see me cry." I never loaded a tape. I never even closed the lid. Anders raises his taser, knuckles white. The weapon hums like an angry wasp. "If it moves, it dies," he mutters, forgetting we're already ghosts down here. A shape forms between the corridors, translucent, no face, just the outline of a child, maybe 8 winters old. Its skin ripples like disturbed water. It lifts an arm, fingers stretching into liquid tendrils that reach across the distance toward Mara's throat. "Hey!" I bark, the word tearing my throat raw. The figure pauses, tilting a head it doesn't have. Anders fires.
The taser's prongs spark electric blue, arc through liquid flesh, and ground against the bulkhead with a metallic shriek. The smell of ozone burns my nostrils.
The child doesn't flinch. Instead, it giggles again, delighted, like we've offered it a new toy. Mara stands frozen, tears cutting silver tracks down cheeks I hadn't noticed were wet. The tendrils brush her collarbone, and where they touch, her shirt darkens, soaked through in perfect fingerprints. She doesn't scream. She breathes. "You came back," in the same voice the recorder used, and I realize the tape is still running, capturing her words before she speaks them. I lunge, grabbing her shoulder, and the crayon line between us snaps with a sound like a bone breaking. Pain flares up my wrist. The child recoils, tendrils whipping back into stubby arms. It hops once, playful, leaving a fresh glowing footprint that pulses like a heartbeat. It wants to play tag in a place where nobody wins. Anders reloads with shaking hands. "We put it down, we burn the lab, we forget this ever happened," he says, voice cracking. The recorder answers for me, tiny and terrified. She already forgot. I feel the words crawl across my tongue, bitter and foreign. "They aren't mine, they never were." The child takes a step toward me. The footprints follow, each one brighter, closer together, as if it's running, though it moves no faster than mist. I smell the ocean, deep and crushing, the pressure of miles above us pressing down through steel. My ears pop. Mara whispers, "Take me home," and the child nods, offering a hand that drips onto the floor and keeps dripping, pooling ankle deep around our boots.
I reach for her, for the crayon stub, for anything solid, but the water rises warm as blood.
Anders fires again. This time the charge fizzles like a sparkler in rain. The child opens its arms, and I see inside its chest. Nothing, just endless dark water and the faint outline of tomorrow's date floating like a drowned calendar page. Mara steps into the embrace. The water swallows her boots, then her knees. I grab her sleeve, and it tears away wet and cold. She looks back once, eyes wide with something between terror and relief. "Close the door," she says, voice layered. Child and woman and something else entirely. "Lock it from the outside." Anders screams, a sound I didn't know men could make, and charges. The child meets him halfway. They merge like ink and water, and for a heartbeat, I see Anders' face inside the translucent skull, mouth open in silent panic.
Then the shape is small again, barefoot, giggling.
2 sets of footprints now, leading deeper into the dark. I stumble back through the doorway, slam it shut, press my forehead to the metal. The knob burns cold, then hot, then cold again. Behind me, the corridor stretches empty, wax dripping from the ceiling like stalactites of memory. The recorder clicks off, then on, then off. A final whisper slips through the speaker, tinny and far away. "She's here. She's always been here." The crayon line coils on the floor, one end still tied to my wrist, the other vanishing beneath the door. It tugs, gentle, insistent. Somewhere beyond, water begins to sing, and I realize I never learned the child's name, but tomorrow already knows it. The knob turns from the other side. The knob completes its slow rotation with a click that sounds like a knuckle cracking underwater. I jerk backward, but the crayon line around my wrist yanks me forward, taut as a leash. The door swings inward on hinges that drip with something darker than rust. I stumble through, boots splashing, expecting another stairwell, another descent. Instead, I'm back at the junction, the same T intersection we first passed what feels like hours ago. Same overhead pipes, same flickering sodium bulb. Only now, the bulb is dimmer, and the air tastes like pennies left on the tongue too long. I spin, heart hammering, and call out for Mara. My voice folds back on itself, thinner each echo, until it's just a child's hiccup. The crayon line insists we go right.
So I go right, counting steps like a spell. 1, 2, 3. 12 steps later, the corridor bends, and I'm staring again at the same junction. The bulb is lower now, hanging by a frayed wire that sways though there is no wind. The rust has flowered into full roses of orange and brown, eating the metal like cancer. I smell seawater. Impossible, because we're 4 levels above the flood line. I try left. Same number of steps, same bend, same return. It's not funny, but the sound leaks out anyway, a hysterical bubble. On the third loop, the footprints appear, small, bare, leading away from me, multiplying like wet stamps. They shimmer with salt. I follow them because the crayon line is now slack, coiling on the ground like a sleeping snake. Each print is deeper, as though the child is growing heavier with every circuit. I whisper her name. I still don't know it, but the corridor swallows the syllables before I finish. I round the corner for the third time, and the bulb is gone. In its place, darkness thick enough to chew, yet the junction glows from below, a cold marine phosphorescence. The footprints converge to a single point where the child waits. She is exactly as tall as I remember, hair plastered to her skull, skin luminescent like deep-water fish. In her arms, she cradles something soft and sodden. Water drips from it in steady pulses, as though it has a heartbeat of brine. I take one step closer, and the bear's glass eye catches what little light exists. I know that eye. I stitched the button back on when I was 7, after Mara's dog chewed it loose. The bear was hers, then mine, then forgotten in a cardboard box labeled summer camp. Now it is here, bloated, dripping, fur-matted like kelp. The child lifts it toward me as if offering a gift. Seawater pours from the bear's mouth like it's confessing. I reach out, my fingers brush wet velvet, and the corridor tilts. No, I tilt. The floor stays level, but gravity forgets me. The crayon line tightens again, burning my wrist like a wire through ice. It jerks me back a step, then another, until the child is out of arm's reach. She does not follow. Her head cants sideways, curious, like a bird studying a mirror. "You left me," she says, though her lips never move. The voice is inside my ears, behind my teeth. The footprints behind me are suddenly mine, adult boots outlined in seawater, filling as fast as I lift each foot. I turn to run, and the junction is gone. The corridor is now a straight line with no corners, no doors, just rust flaking like burnt paper. The crayon line pulls harder, humming like a cello string. I jog, then sprint, but the air thickens to syrup. My lungs taste metal and tide pool. Something cold slaps my ankle. Another loop, another footprint, but this one is still filling, water cresting over the leather. I skid to a stop. The line slackens. Ahead, a new door has appeared, identical to the first but blistered with barnacles. A faint green light pulses beneath the frame, the same rhythm as the bear's dripping. I know, with the certainty of dreams, that if I open this door, I will find the inside of the bear's stomach. Wet, velvet dark, smelling of salt and childhood. My wrist aches where the crayon has cut through skin. I could cut the line. I could. But the footprints are now a river flowing toward me, and the child's reflection walks on top of it, upside down, smiling with too many teeth. I grip the knob. It is cold, alive, pulsing like a throat swallowing. The bear's heartbeat, or mine, thuds in my ears. Somewhere behind, the child giggles, a sound like bubbles bursting in deep water. The line pulls one last time, urgent, pleading. Choose. The corridor seems to breathe. I twist the knob, and the door opens onto black water that smells of every summer I forgot to remember. I step through, and the last thing I feel is velvet closing over my head like a kiss. I come up gasping, not in water, but in memory. The velvet kiss was the surface tension snapping, and now I'm kneeling on cold metal that tastes of rust and old secrets. My hands are still wet, but the water clings like guilt, refusing to drip away. Somewhere ahead, Anders is talking to the dark, his voice shaking like a loose cable in high wind. He doesn't turn when my boots scrape. I was there, he says, so soft I almost miss it under the hum of failing fans. The day we sealed Ridge 9, I threw the switch.
The words drop like lead weights. He keeps his back to me, shoulders curled inward as if hugging the shame. Corporate said the site was compromised, that the child, whatever it is, couldn't reach open space. We were told it was mercy. Quick, humane. He laughs without humor.
We left them to drown in their own sky.
I take one step, and the floor flexes like skin over a bruise. Why tell me now? My voice cracks. I'm not sure I want the answer. He finally turns, eyes red, face streaked with salt trails. Because the loop wants a confession, and I'm the last one left who can give it. Behind him, the corridor ripples, water pooling upward along the walls, defying gravity like tears refusing to fall. He reaches into his coat, slow, deliberate, and pulls out a cracked data shard. All the logs, names, orders. He places it on the deck between us like an offering. Take it to the surface. End the cover-up. End me. His fingers tremble, but his stare is steady, almost pleading. I'm ready. The air thickens, tasting of brine and ozone. A giggle answers, echoing from every vent at once, light and playful and wrong. The child steps out of nowhere, barefoot on the ceiling, hair hanging down like seaweed. Its smile is too wide, stretching past what cheeks should allow. Anders' breath hitches. He drops to his knees, palms open. I left you, he whispers. Take me instead. Tears drip upward from his chin, joining the water climbing the walls. The child tilts its head, curious, as if tasting the weight of his guilt. Then it grins wider and splits. No sound, just a wet pop like a bubble breaking. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 8, more. Each copy is perfect, identical, skin glistening like fresh-poured glass. They crawl down the walls, down the air itself, surrounding him in a circle of mirrored faces. Anders doesn't scream yet. He looks at me, eyes wide, mouthing a single word I can't hear over the sudden rush of water. The clones place tiny hands on his shoulders, his arms, his chest, gentle, almost loving. He shudders, but he doesn't pull away. Tell them, he starts, voice swallowed by the rising tide. The nearest child leans close, lips brushing his ear. Whatever it whispers makes his face collapse. Tears pour freely now, mixing with the flood until I can't tell salt from salt. The hands tighten, fingers merging, becoming liquid restraints. He tries to stand, but the water is too heavy, too willing. It pours into his mouth when he opens it to scream, filling him like a vessel. I lunge, stupid instinct, grabbing his sleeve. The fabric tears, soaked through, and I'm left holding nothing but thread. The children, how many now? 20? 30? Drag him backward toward a ventilation grate I swear wasn't there moments ago. Metal bends like warm taffy, edges curling outward to welcome himself. The last thing I see is his boot kicking once, twice, then disappearing into darkness that smells of deep ocean trenches. The grate snaps shut, seamless again. Silence rushes back, so complete it roars in my ears. The water drains downward through invisible cracks, leaving the deck dry and accusing. The data shard glints alone on the floor, reflecting my trembling face. I pick it up. It's warm, pulsing like a second heart. Somewhere inside the walls, pipes groan, a sound almost like laughter. I back away, but the corridor has changed. The path behind me is gone, replaced by more corridor, identical, stretching both ways forever. A droplet lands on my cheek, cold and final. I wipe it away, but another replaces it, then another, steady as a countdown. Ahead, a new door waits, edges glowing faintly green, the same color as the child's eyes. The knob turns before I touch it. A breeze sighs out, carrying the scent of summer I forgot to remember, and a single word I wish I hadn't heard. Next. I grip the shard tighter. The line, the one that pulled me here, tugs again. Not from behind, but from somewhere deeper. Somewhere wet. Choose. The ship seems to breathe. I take one reluctant step toward the green light, and the last droplet lands, not on my face this time, but inside my ear, cold as a promise. The door begins to close, slow, inevitable. I have the confession. I have the names, but the corridor keeps asking, and the water keeps counting. The slit of light shrinks to a thread, to a memory. I lunge forward. The slit of light shrinks to a thread, to a memory. I lunge forward, and the corridor spits us out like bad fish. I tumble, Juno's hand still clamped around my wrist, and we land not on metal, but on nothing. The floor is gone. We are floating. Below us yawns a perfect sphere of black water, perfectly still, perfectly hungry. I kick my legs, but there is no up or down here, only the gentle tug of something ancient. In the very center of the void, something bubbles. No, not bubbles, percolates. A 1970s drip coffee pot, chrome dulled to charcoal, hovers there like a tiny moon. Steam coils from its spout and vanishes into the dark. The smell is absurd. Stale diner brew, burnt sugar, grief. I feel Juno shiver against me. Mara, she whispers, that's impossible. There's no power, no heat. Clears throat. It isn't making coffee, I say, tasting copper on my tongue. It's making memory. The pot tilts as if acknowledging us. One drop falls, fat and slow, and the sphere ripples outward in perfect rings. Each ring carries a sound. My mother humming lullabies, my father coughing blood, the station's hull groaning like a wounded whale. I realize the station isn't haunted. It's dreaming, and we're tucked inside its nightmare like splinters in skin. The child reforms from the ripples. This time it wears my face, 7 years old, freckles like spilled cinnamon, hair and lopsided braids I could never master. She tilts her head exactly the way I did the day the house caught fire. You left me, she says, voice echoing from every direction. You always leave. I reach for her, but Juno jerks me back. It's not her, she hisses.
It's the station wearing your guilt like a coat.
I know, I answer, though my hand keeps stretching anyway. The child opens her mouth wider than physics allows. Inside is the reactor core we thought had melted. Inside is the missing crew. Inside is my 7th birthday party, candles still burning underwater. The coffee pot gurgles again, louder, urgent. A new drop forms, trembling on the spout like a tear deciding whether to fall. I understand now. Each drop is a choice Anders made, each bubble a scream he swallowed. The station is distilling his regret into something drinkable, something that will drown us. Wake up, I tell the sphere. Wake up and let us go. The child laughs with my voice, high and cracked. Dreams don't wake themselves. Someone has to open the door. She points behind us. I turn and see a door that wasn't there a heartbeat ago. Same green light as the corridor, only now it's underwater, handle dissolving into bubbles. Beyond it, the real reactor room, cold and dead, but ours. The choice is clear. One of us stays inside the dream, keeps the station company, lets it sip our memories forever. The other walks through and maybe wakes up. Juno looks at me, eyes wide, shaking her head. I feel the weight of every drop I've ever cried in secret. The child holds out her hand. The coffee pot tilts. The drop falls. I hear the station inhale. Chews. It sighs, voice warm and bitter like old coffee. My fingers brush Juno's one last time. The door begins to dissolve. I taste copper, burnt sugar. Goodbye. The drop hangs between us like a tiny black sun, and child Mara's smile is the coldest thing I've ever felt. She tilts the percolator, and the green liquid inside sloshes like liquid starlight. Taken, she whispers, voice honey over broken glass. Walk away. Forget the station. Forget Juno. Forget you ever drowned. I taste iron where I bit my tongue, and Juno's hand is still warm in mine. Mara, I say, throat raw. This isn't you. The child's eyes glitter, too old for her face, like someone stuffed a dying galaxy behind her pupils. I'm what's left, she answers, and the pot tips farther. One sip, and the pressure stops. No more screaming walls, no more Vance. As if forgetting him could ever be that simple. Juno steps forward, boots ringing on metal that isn't quite there. You want us to trade our memories for mercy? Her laugh cracks like a rib.
I already sold mine once, got a lousy refund. She snatches the percolator before I can stop her, and the green light flares so bright my eyes water. Childmare's face twists, first into surprise, then fury, then something like pride. You'll break it, she warns, but Juno's already swinging. The pot shatters against the deck with a sound like every coffee cup I ever dropped in my life. Green fire spills across the floor, sizzling, eating the darkness. The station howls, Vance's voice, stretched thin, coming from every pipe and plate. It sounds like a man choking on his own name. The sphere around us buckles, first a single crack, then a spiderweb of fractures racing upward. Salt water sprays through, cold as the first time I almost drowned in Lake Ontario. Time to leave, Juno shouts, grabbing my wrist. We run. Behind us, Child Mara's laughter echoes, higher and thinner, until it's just another alarm klaxon. The corridor tilts. The floor becomes a slope, then a slide. We skid, slam into a bulkhead, and the whole station groans like a dying whale. Vance's voice is everywhere now, pleading, apologizing, promising he never meant for any of this. I almost believe him. Water rises to our knees, then our waists. My lungs burn already, remembering the taste of panic. Juno kicks open a maintenance hatch and shoves me through first. The tunnel is tight, metal slick with algae that glows faintly green. Something grabs my ankle, just a cable, but I scream anyway. Juno curses behind me, voice tight. Faster, Mara's ghost is flooding the whole level. We crawl, lungs heaving, until the shaft ends in a ladder that climbs toward a circle of sickly yellow light. The station shrieks again, metal, tearing like paper. I taste blood in the water. I'm not sure if it's mine. We burst onto the Caladan's docking bridge just as the last clamp releases. The little sub jerks away from the station, engines whining. Through the viewport, I see the sphere implode, a perfect circle folding inward, sucking water and light and sound into a tiny black dot. The Caladan rocks, tossed by the suction. Juno slams the hatch, spins the wheel, and collapses against the bulkhead. Water drips from her hair like green tears. We made it, she pants. But her eyes are wide, unfocused. I realize she's staring past me, at the puddle forming at our feet. It's glowing. Just a faint, stubborn glimmer from the shattered percolator. The engines cough, sputter, die. Silence, except for the soft lap of water against the hull and the distant echo of Vance still calling my name. I think we forgot to pay the exit fee. The lights flicker, green once, then red. Something knocks from the outside. Once, twice, like knuckles on tin. Juno meets my eyes. We didn't leave, she says, voice flat. We just brought it with us. The knocking comes again, louder, more urgent. I reach for the controls, but my hand stops halfway, hovering over the panel. Because the knocking isn't coming from outside. It's coming from inside the walls. The knocking spreads through the hull like a heartbeat, slow and deliberate. I pull my hand back as the sound moves, crawling along the metal bones of Caladan, searching. Juno's breathing is shallow beside me, each exhale fogging the glass of her helmet. It's inside, she whispers, as if saying it softer will make it less true. The green water at our feet has stopped rising. Instead, it trembles, rippling outward from nowhere, as though something just beneath the surface is waking. I feel the pressure shift in my ears, not from depth, but from presence. The sub lurches once, gently, like a mother rocking a cradle. Then, the knocking stops. Silence swells, thick and absolute. We surface without ceremony. No alarms, no shouts, just the soft hiss of hydraulics and the metallic taste of recycled air. The moon pool yawns above us, a black eye in the belly of Okeanos. I climb the ladder first, boots ringing on each rung. Juno follows, slower, her gloved hand brushing my ankle once, as if to remind herself I'm still there. The corridor is empty, not quiet, empty, the kind of silence that swallows footsteps. I pull off my helmet, let it hang from my fingers. That's when I see them,
Footprints, bare, starting halfway down the hall, like someone materialized from the air itself. They glisten, salt water still dripping from the edges. Juno sees them too. She doesn't speak. She just stares. I follow the prints. They curve around the corner, hesitant, as if the feet weren't sure of the way. The mess hall door is open. Inside, the coffee machine gurgles like it always does, cheerful and oblivious. A figure stands at the counter, back to me, hair still dripping, bare feet, pale skin. I know the shape of her shoulders before she turns. Mara. But not. She moves like someone remembering how to be human. Picks up the mug, my mug, the one with the chipped rim, and adds cream. 2 sugars. Stir, stir, stir. She lifts it to her lips, pauses, and whispers, "We forgot the cream." Her voice is soft, distracted, like she's reading from a script someone else wrote. I step closer. Mara? She doesn't flinch, doesn't turn, just sips the coffee and sighs, the sound of someone waking from a long, confusing dream. "It's too bitter," she says. "He always said it was too bitter." I glance at Juno, who has gone very still in the doorway. Her eyes are wide, fixed on Mara's reflection in the metal backsplash, or rather, the lack of one. "Mara," I try again, softer this time. She finally turns. Her eyes are the same color, but the pupils are wrong. Too wide, like someone staring into absolute dark. She tilts her head. "Do I know you?" The question lands like a slap. Juno makes a small sound, half laugh, half sob. "We were on Ridge 9, I say. You were..." I stop, because she's smiling now, gentle and distant, like I'm a child telling a story she's already heard. She walks past us, barefoot, leaving new prints that don't match the old ones. These are deeper, as if she's heavier than she should be, or carrying something. She stops at the porthole, fingers touching the glass. "It's still out there," she murmurs. "But now, it knows the way in." Below us, something knocks once against the hull. A different rhythm, patient, familiar. I move to the intercom, hand hovering. The ship feels different, tilted maybe, or breathing. Juno hasn't moved from the doorway. Her lips are white. "She didn't come up with us," she says, voice barely a thread. "She was never in the sub." I look back toward the corridor. The footprints are gone, dry, like they were never there. Mara's voice drifts from somewhere deeper in the ship, not calling, just talking, low and steady, like she's explaining something to someone who isn't us. I take one step toward the sound. The lights flicker again, slower this time. Red, white, red, white. The intercom crackles to life without me touching it. A voice, mine, whispers back, "We forgot the cream." Then silence, and the knocking starts again, from inside the walls. I press the record button with a thumb that no longer feels like mine. The camera's red eye blinks once, steady, like it's already bored with whatever I'm about to confess. "Log entry 002, I say, and the words taste like rust. "The station is quiet." That's a lie, of course, but the microphone doesn't care. I lean closer to the pickup, lowering my voice until it scrapes the bottom of the audio range. "The abyss is full," I whisper, and behind me, something shifts, soft as silk dragged across metal. I don't turn around. Turning around is how you give it permission to smile. "We brought something back." That's the line everyone keeps repeating in my head, like a broken nursery rhyme. "We brought something back, and it likes cream. Not milk, not sugar, cream. The thick, fatty kind that clings to the roof of your mouth and never quite washes away." I left the last tin of it on the mess table 3 shifts ago. This morning the lid was peeled open like a flower, and the inside was perfectly, obscenely licked clean. I should stop the log. I should run. But my legs have already rehearsed that scene and decided against it. Instead, I keep talking, because stories end when the talking stops, and endings are terrifying when you're the only one left to read them. I tell the camera about the moon pool that never refilled, how the water just packed up and left like it got a better offer. I tell it about the knocking inside the walls, how it syncs with my heartbeat now. No, how my heartbeat syncs with it. I even tell it about the bargain we made, though the details feel slippery, like trying to hold fog in a clenched fist. The corridor lights behind me choose that moment to stutter. Red, white, each pulse stretching the shadows until they're long enough to wrap around my throat. I feel the temperature drop a degree with every flicker. The thing we invited aboard prefers its rooms refrigerated, apparently. I glance at the small viewport beside the console. Outside, the abyss is not black anymore. It's pearlescent, swirling with colors that never learned polite names. Something vast turns over beneath the station, slow as tectonic plates, and the whole structure groans like a wounded animal. My reflection in the glass looks wrong. The eyes are too wide, the mouth too relaxed, as if someone else is wearing my face and hasn't quite broken it in. I lift a hand. The reflection waves back half a second too late. I face the camera again. If you find this, I say, and the words taste colder than the air. Remember we asked for this. We reached down into the dark, and the dark reached back with better manners. I almost laugh, but it comes out a sob. I reach for the stop button. My finger hovers, trembles, then pulls back. One more confession, I decide. Just one. It's inside the walls now, I murmur, but it's also inside the sound of my voice. Every syllable is a doorway, every pause a welcome mat. I think it likes being talked about. I think that's the real cream it craved. The lights settle on red and stay there, steady as a dying star. I can feel the station tilting, very slightly, as if something enormous has taken the anchor chain between its teeth. The deck vibrates with a low, satisfied hum. I exhale once, steady, and let my hand fall. The camera keeps rolling. I stand, chair scraping like a scream, and walk toward the corridor without looking back. Behind me, the red eye never blinks again. The knocking stops the moment I step across the threshold. In its place, I hear the soft, wet sound of something unfolding. I don't need to see it. The air changes flavor, thick and sweet like overripe fruit. I keep walking. The corridor feels longer than the station ever was, the walls breathing in perfect rhythm. Each step leaves a footprint that fills with cream. I always did leave a mess. At the far end, the moon pool yawns open, though it should be behind me now. Space is negotiable here. I kneel at the edge, dip a finger into the nothing that should be water, and feel the cold kiss back. I speak not to the camera anymore, but to the listener who has always been listening. We brought you cream, I say. Now take me while it's fresh. The station exhales. The red lights fade to black, one by one, like candles snuffed between wet fingers. Somewhere, the tape keeps rolling, capturing the silence that tastes of dairy and drowning. Final words taste sweetest.